Hey guys, what's up? Phil coming at you with a brand new Yu-Gi-Oh! Discussion video. Today they revealed new cards and new details from the Charmer structure deck. It is coming out in the OCG on the 4th of July and they revealed 3 brand new cards. Technically they revealed 5 and we'll talk about the 2 that weren't revealed but are basically revealed anyway. We also got some news about what more reprints are coming in the structure deck, and we'll be talking about those as we go through. We're trying to get an idea of what the structure deck is actually going to look like, what we're going to get, and some cards that haven't been announced as being reprinted. Pretty sure they're going to be in the structure deck anyway. If you like the video and the content on this channel, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. It really does help out a lot. Also, if you really are keen on these cards or not keen on them, let me know in the comments below so we can have a discussion about them. I really love talking to you guys about these cards and this archetype. Without further ado, guys, let's jump into the video and hope you guys do enjoy it. Before we jump into the new cards, I want to talk about, obviously, everything we know reprint-wise. So, obviously, first off, they announced that we're getting reprints of the 4 basic Charmers, of course, Hita, Orsa, Area, and Win. I think it's in the Platinum rarity or like a special holo rarity, which also Awakening of the Possessed is coming. We talked about that in an earlier video. We're getting... It's very nice to see, of course, Awakening of the Possessed reprint. Very expensive over in the OCG. Not as expensive for us, but we have a very nice ultra printing of it. We're getting 4 new artworks for the Familiar Possessed Charmers. I did do a video on that. Click link in the top right-hand corner if you want to go see my video talking about their alternate artworks. I do believe we're also getting an original, 1 copy of each of the original Familiar Possessed Charmer artworks in there as well. It was announced we're getting reprints of the 4 upgraded forms of the pets. I don't know if we're getting the vanillas or the original forms. I don't think we need to. It's very nice to see these 4 reprinted. Some of them are actually quite old, particularly these 3 are very old and very hard to get hold of. So nice to see those reprinted for people. We have a reprint of Effect Veiler and Spellbook of Knowledge. Great cards to be reprinted, of course, gives you a reason to buy it. It was confirmed that we are getting 1 of 5 super rare tokens, so I did a video on the tokens. So at very minimum, we have to buy 5 structure decks to get all the tokens. I'm a little bit annoyed with that, but hey, I guess that's the only way they could give us some value out of this, because other than Knowledge and Veiler, this structure deck isn't looking too particularly valuable in terms of cracking it and getting some value compared to some of the other structure decks we've seen. But hey, it's Charmers. We're also getting confirmed reprint of Unpossessed. Obviously very straightforward, very much needed for the Charmer deck. And whilst this hasn't been announced, I'm calling it right now. We are getting reprints of the 4 spiritual art traps. I will tell you why when we get into the video, the other cards that we got. So we have spiritual art, Kuranile, which is the fire one, Kurogane, which is the earth, Aoi, which is the blue water one, and Miyabi, which is the wind, and I'll talk about those in a second. Now that we've taken a look at the reprints, there's of course, no word on the Charmer links. I think if they run out of cards, they'll throw them in there. We have them. This is probably the only thing that doesn't need to be reprinted. These are really easy to get a hold of. So I definitely don't think these are going to get reprinted, and you're probably never really going to make them. Depends. Once we go over the new cards, you'll probably see otherwise. And of course, we're getting the field spell. As to how many copies of each card we're getting, I'm probably saying we're going to get 2 copies of the field spell. Other than that, I'm probably going to see a lot of one-offs. But let's go. Anyway, now that's out of the way, guys, let's jump into the 5 new cards that were revealed. So we're going to start things off with these 2. I'm saying them together because it's the Charmers and everything's symmetrical, because that's how the archetype works. And again, this is a bit of a problem, and let's go over it. So we have Awakened Possessed Great Inari Fire and Awakened Possessed Archfiend Reaper of Nefariousness, which will probably be renamed to Eater of Nefariousness here in the TCG. They both have the same exact text, except one requires fire and one requires earth. So their second and third effects can only be used as a hard once per turn. They can be special summoned from your hand or your deck by sending a spellcaster type monster and a face-up level 4 or lower earth or fire, depending on the one you're using, to control to the graveyard. So you have to have them both out on the field. When this card is special summoned by its effect, you can special summon a level 4 or lower monster from your graveyard, but its effects are negated. So obviously you would use the Charmer and then you'd bring the Charmer back. Or you could use the pet if you really wanted to do some more floating down the track. If it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add a spiritual art card or possess spell or trap from your deck to your hand. Now, in particular, I want to stress the spiritual art thing. Inari Fire can only search spiritual art Kurenai, spiritual fire art, because unless they're printing new spiritual arts for each attribute, which is how they've named this just in case they make extra ones, this is the only target. As for Nefariousness, can only search Kurogane. Are these cards good? Probably not. Especially if you're running all 4 of them in the one deck. And I know that this is how Charmers work, and I guess they really want us to give us cards that let us play everything in the archetype. But the one positive these things have is they can search the possessed spells and traps. So they can search Awakening of the Possessed, they can search Unpossessed, they can search the new card we're about to take a look at. They can't search the field spell, because why would they be able to search the field spell, a card that we would probably want to search, even though it's probably not going to be run anyway? I mean, Secret Village works so much better in the deck than this. Other than that, and other downsides, they're level 5s. You can't use them to make rank 4s. I guess you could use them to make the Charmer links, but why would you neg? I find it really frustrating that these cards, yes, they are really good flavorful, and yes, they can search, but I guess you're going to make the Charmer, you're going to have the Charmer and the Pet, which you're going to special summon. At least they don't have to be the same. You can have a Charmer, you can have like Win, and you can have Inari Fire, and you can make this. It's not the end of the world. You don't have to have the same attribute. And yes, the field spell can help you cycle them out as well, which is great. And cycle out your Charmers, which is very nice. But then if you make this, you bring the Charmer back, you want this to go to the graveyard so you can search Awakening of the Possessed. Or you can search Unpossessed or the trap we're about to take a look at. Why would you go to that much neg to search a card? Like, it just boggles me. Like, will I play these cards? I don't actually know. Like, my list is decently consistent with the fact that it can't actually search, like, the possessed cards. I really wish they had made, like, a generic spell searcher for them. Like, you can discard, like, a card with Inari. You can discard, a possessed card or an awakened card to go grab a possessed card, like a possessed spell or trap. Like, it's just... And obviously, when I said 5 cards, we can pretty much assume that we're going to get... Storm Dragon is going to get a retrain as one of these as well as Gigabyte. Going to be exactly the same. I quickly want to mention their artwork. Their artwork is gorgeous. Like, it's a nice reference to the new artwork of the Familiar Possessed that we're getting. I don't have copies of the artwork on me, but if you guys look at the other videos, you'll see where they have the Charmer attacking with the Pet behind them, and now we have the Charmer sending the Pet into battle. And from an artistic standpoint, these cards are awesome. I love the artistic standpoint on this archetype. I think it's such a beautiful archetype artwork-wise, and that's one of the reasons why I was so frustrated that the artwork we're getting on the tokens isn't being used for anything but the tokens. And do I like these cards? They're okay. I guess they do their job. They definitely say you exist in the sense that if you want to build a deck around a particular girl, and it's a waifu deck, I guess they'd see more play. But this archetype is really weird. Like, one minute it wants you to play pure attribute, and then the next minute it wants you to play all the attributes, and it's getting really convoluted and confusing. I feel like what would be really cool is if they had a way or a card that could actually change their attributes. I think that would be absolutely phenomenally good for this archetype. We still have a few pieces of space left in the structure deck, and maybe 1 or 2 more cards, I guess. But 2 cards, of course, are being taken up by the retrains of Petite Dragon and Gigabyte. Did these cards need to exist? No. We could have had... I feel like this is just... I don't know. I don't want to say this because this might annoy a lot of people, but this kind of feels a little lazy in terms of card design. Like, they're just copy-paste. A lot of the cards we're seeing in this... a lot of cards from the Charmer... Like, if you look at some of the older Charmer cards, like the Traps, they're not copy-paste. They all do very different things. And the 4 original Pets do different things. Why are the new retrains of the Pets doing the same thing? This is what's really frustrating. Because if you wanted to make cards like this, you could have one... Yes, they all search spells and traps, but maybe one of them gives them power, one of them can change an attribute. Why are they all doing the same thing? It's just really frustrating. It's just a little bit of a missed opportunity for me with these cards. I know a lot of people are gonna like that that we have access to pretty much any card in the archetype now. Everything can be played together. But that's not always a good thing, because I don't want to play the little Charmers. They don't do enough, they're too slow, and this archetype is slow enough as it is already. The most efficient way to play this deck is the rank 4 beatdown, or playing all the level 4s, locking them out with Secret Village, making so your Charmers can't be destroyed by card effects, your opponent can't play spells, they're really big, and then when you're ready to go, you rank into Utopia Double and you smack them straight in the face. Whether or not this is the right way to go about it, we'll have to wait and see. Next up, guys, we have a card that I'm actually really excited for. It is called Teamwork of the Possessed. It's another card that features all 4 of the girls and their pets as well, this time in the archetype. Obviously, with Awakening of the Possessed, we just had the Charmers alone in the art, and then, of course, with Unpossessed, we had just the pets in its artwork. And I'm very nice to see all 4 Charmers and all 4 pets together in the one artwork. Now, this card is really good. It's a pseudo kind of Monstery Ball and Call of the Horned kind of card for the archetype. So you can only use one of this card's effects per turn and only once per turn. Now, based on this translation, it's not a hard once per turn, so if you do have 2 of them, you can use 2. And this is definitely a card I could easily see running 2 to 3 of. Just because it's actually really good. So you get to special summon a monster with a spellcaster type monster with 1500 defense from your hand or graveyard in face up attack position or face down defense position. So it actually can help extend you and help you bring back extra monsters from your graveyard to really help out that have as many attributes on the field as possible. Also, if there are 2 or more different attributes among monsters you control, you can destroy a face-up card on the field. Now, this is also, so you get to summon the Charmer, and then if you have 2 or more attributes after you resolve that effect, you get to pop a card on the field. It's really good, and it doesn't say target from this translation, so we have non-target destruction. I mean, it's 1 card, but at least we have a sort of form of pseudo interruption as well as the field spell now. So if you are running the field spell, you have a spell negate, and with this you have a face-up card destruction. So we do have 2 interruptions now if you're playing pure. So that is definitely something the archetype needed, and I'm very happy with this card. It also has a graveyard effect where you can banish it to target a possessed spell or trap in your graveyard. Place that card face-up on your field. Now, it specifically lists place that card, which means you're not activating the card, so your opponent can't negate it, which is great. You can use it if your opponent gets rid of your Unpossessed. If your opponent gets rid of your Awakening of the Possessed, you can bring these back. It also is listed in a way that in case they make future possessed spell and traps, you can use that for this. Whether or not this archetype will get support in the future is questionable. The fact that it got a structure deck, however, does kind of show you guys and explain to us how popular this archetype actually is, despite it really never wanting to synergize. I think Konami has definitely put some decent work into this to try to salvage this archetype, to make it playable. Cards like Unpossessed and Awakening of the Possessed and Teamwork of the Possessed really demonstrate that they really do want this to be somewhat playable. They want people to enjoy playing this. The fact that we're getting so much new artwork is great. There are obvious limitations that we have had, so far, of course, the new pet retrains and not getting retrains of the 4 girls again. There is still a chance. I still think we could get another 2 cards. It's very unlikely. Right now, what have we got? We've got the field spell, we've got the 4 new pets, the 5, we've got this trap, which is 6. That's 6 new cards, which is normally on par with what we get for a structure deck. It's actually quite generous. We normally only get 3. I think Shadol's only got 2 or 3 new cards, but then Sacred Beast got 9. So there is still room here to potentially get retrains of the Charmers. I don't think it's going to happen. As much as I would love it. I would love them to get a spell that lets me manipulate the attributes of the monsters I have on field. I think that would be absolutely fantastic for this archetype. It's not going to be broken. It's until the end of the turn, you can change the attribute of a spellcaster monster you control with 1500 defense. It doesn't seem too out of the realms of possibility. But overall, guys, I'm actually kind of happy with this. I think there is a sense where the reprints are good, in the sense that if you do want to go grab these cards before I add to the structure deck, it was very difficult. It it actually took me, even though they were commons, it was really difficult for me to actually get all the familiar possessed monsters because there's just common bulk that no one really wanted. So it's nice that we're getting these, and you can tell with all this new artwork and getting the alternate artwork, like they really want us to enjoy this. This is definitely meant to be more of a flavorful structure deck, and it's nice that we're getting a flavored structure deck as opposed to like a competitive new meta bending structure deck like Salad or Monarchs when that came out, or even Dinosaurs. Yes, this structure deck will not change the meta. Yes, this is a structure deck aimed at older, more nostalgic Yu-Gi-Oh players. But honestly, is that really an issue? I think a huge part of Yu-Gi-Oh's player base is the nostalgia player, and they are going to get a huge kick out of this. I cannot wait to play this deck. I know it will not win games. It will not win YCS. It will not win tournaments. I cannot wait to start messing around with these new cards. And yes, I want to try running these. Will they be playable? I don't know. If you haven't seen my videos and my deck profiles for Charmers and all the stuff I've done for them, you'll know once you watch them, I love this archetype. I want this archetype to be playable. Cards like these definitely say to me that Konami wants us to be able to play this archetype. Cards like these make me question whether or not they want this archetype to be, not that they want this archetype to be playable, just, well, they got a bit lazy with card design. Artwork-wise, I am not dissing the artwork on any of these cards. I think the artwork is phenomenal. It's one of the main reasons I love this archetype. I am definitely going to be trying to strive and get those 5 tokens. I'm sorry this video is definitely a much longer discussion video, but now that we have more details about it, we get more to talk about. And once we get the full official confirmed list of this structure deck, I will be breaking it down for you guys, and we can talk about what I was right about, what I was wrong about. It is coming out on the 4th of July, so it's literally a month away, less than a month away at this point. I cannot wait to get my hands on one. When it comes to the TCG, who knows? The biggest discredit that Konami could do to us, because the Charmers do have fans in the TCG, is this structure deck actually not coming to the TCG as like the Warrior structure deck, and I think that would be the absolute biggest disservice. I can try and get a hold of a Japanese version of the structure deck. I would really love to. But anyway, guys, sorry for the long video. Let me know your thoughts below about all this stuff. Let me know what predictions you have for the remainder of the structure deck in terms of ratios, how much of everything we're going to get. Do you think we're going to get any new cards? If you like the video, remember to give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel if you love my content. It really does help me out. Leave some comments. Love talking to you guys about this stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you for my next one.